Okay, so everyone, welcome so much to our Women Who Code Beginner Python study group session. Today we are going to cover functions revisited. We're going to start off with a functions refresher. Then we're going to talk about parameters. We're going to talk about return statements and a whole lot more. It's going to be a really fun evening. So tonight's agenda, we will start off with study group progress. Then we'll launch right into our live coding. We'll do a review refresher. We'll review functions specifically. Then we'll start learning our parameters, our return statements, using parameters and returns together. And then we're going to do a couple of fun coding exercises at the end that combine a lot of the concepts that we've learned over the past few months. All right, so welcome to Beginner Python Study Group. As a reminder, if you are new to the Python programming language, if you're new to programming and or computer science, or if you're just here for a refresher, you're welcome here. We will actively code together in real time. We are going to move at a slow and steady pace to absorb the material. We're going to encourage others as we learn in a safe and comfortable environment, and I hope we're going to have lots of fun. So we are going through the essentials of Python programming. This has been our roadmap. We are currently right here, session number 5. We made it. So far we have covered an introduction to Python, simple data structures. We did an introduction to functions. We have covered if-else statements, for and while loops, and today we are going to cover parameters and returns. And for our collaborative coding sessions, our next session, we're going to learn about a new topic, and Shermaine is going to jump in real quick and let us know what that session is going to be about.
Yep, so for the next collaborative session, it'll be called Calculation of Wages. And we'll be learning a bit more about reading files and writing text files, and also using simple concepts that we've learned before. So it's a really new topic. So please do join us if you're free on that day. It will be on 19th September at 11 a.m. EDT. So please do join us.
Thank you so much, Shermaine. So those sessions are a lot of fun. I know a lot of you, I see a lot of familiar faces have joined us for those sessions. We have a really fun time, and we get to walk through those coding exercises together, and you get to contribute, and it's amazing. And Arsha has shared that link again in the chat. So please save that and register after the meeting if you have not, or now during the meeting if you want. And we look forward to seeing you there. So our progress. Wow, so we have gone through all these sessions. We are right here today. So this is the final session for the content, and I'm going to say final. It is possible we might continue in a couple months with some additional concepts, but that is to be determined. And here we are with our collaborative sessions. If you registered for any of the previous collaborative sessions, please register again at the link that is in the chat, because each Zoom link is separate for each event. All right, time for live coding. So today we are going to use Google Colab Notebook, and there's a link that Arsha will post for you all in the chat. So you are welcome to use your own or your favorite IDE or code editor if you already have Python 3 and that IDE code editor installed on your computer. And that is just because of install time. It does take a while for all those things to install. So if you already have it installed, you're welcome to use it. With one caveat, a lot of the coding that we're going to use today, you might need to create separate .py files for some of the coding so they don't interact with each other and not work. So just keep that in mind if you decide to use your own IDE or code editor. And then we have a few of our favorites listed here. So I am going to move over to Okay, so Arsha has posted the Google Colab link in the chat. Once you have it open, you're going to want to go to File and then save a copy in Drive. For me, it opens up in a brand new tab. You can see it says copy of. And then I'm just going to close out of that other one. So please let me know in the chat when your Google Colab or whatever program you're going to be using is set up and you are 100% ready to go. I'll just give everyone another moment. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. All right. Fantastic. So while if some of you might still be getting set up, that's totally okay. Again, welcome to our study group. We're doing functions revisited today, and I'm going to go through a review refresher, and I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. I'm going to try not to talk quite as fast as I did last time, but I am going to move through this pretty quickly because it is a refresher and there's a lot of it. So we write our comments with our hashtags, and these are hidden, and they are used to communicate with other programmers, and they're behind the scenes. So commenting is very important. We should always comment on our code. The print function will print or show data to the user, and this is how we write a print function. We put information that we're printing between the parentheses. A string is a series of characters, which can include letters, numbers, and special characters. These are some of the ways that we format it: single quote, double quote, or triple single quote, or you can call it 3 apostrophes. And variables are pieces of memory that store our data, and we write it by creating a variable name. We use the equal sign to assign a value to that variable. Integers are whole numbers. They have no decimal points, but they can be positive or negative. Floats are numbers with decimal points, and they can be positive or negative as well. So functions are blocks of code that run when called. Functions perform specific tasks. We will refresh how to define our own functions shortly. Input functions ask the user to provide information. We use this as our base, and we put our question here. And it does take a while for Google Colab to connect the first time. But as you can see, it allows the user to put input and then prints it, and then we print it out. So concatenation is also very important. We will be using this today. This is when we have, say, a string and we want to concatenate or print together some different text. We have variable that has a string value in it and whatnot. Constructor functions, we're not going to really be using this today, but as a reminder, we use the string, int, float constructor functions to construct a string, integer, or float type, and this is known as casting. Logical conditions, we use these to compare 2 values, and Python will evaluate whether the condition is true or false. So if else statements, if statements evaluate whether a condition is true or false. If the condition is true, then an action is performed. However, if the condition evaluates to false, it'll move to the elif statement. Per this example, it'll evaluate whether this condition is true or false. If it is true, then it will execute this code. If it is false, it will go to this else statement here and execute this code here. And then we just had a very cute kitty cat example, which we will be revisiting a little bit later. Boolean operators evaluate more than one function. We use the Boolean operators and an or in this study group. I don't think we're going to be using them though today, but that is here as a refresher as well. Loops, that was our session 1 week ago today. A loop executes a block of code repeatedly. For loops execute a block of code by a specified number of times. And while loops, on the other hand, will repeatedly execute a block of code for as long as the statement's condition evaluates to true. So we are probably going to, we are not going to be using loops much today. And then break statement, the break keyword allows the program execution to break out of a while loop and continue through the program. And we learned about infinite loops last time, which was fun. Perfect. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Let me know in the chat. Is everyone feeling ready to start our functions refresher? Perfect. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the Q&A, and Shermaine and Karen are here and they are actively responding through to your questions throughout the session. All right, functions refresher. So functions are blocks of code that run when called. Functions perform specific tasks. We have learned about several built-in functions throughout this study group. We've used the print function, the input function, string, type, and some others. But, and here's where we're going to be spending our time today, we can define our own functions. So to define our own functions, we begin with the DEF keyword, followed by the function name, which you come up with, and then we have parentheses and a colon. So here are some examples. Your function names can be a word, they can be several words separated by underscores, and we call that snake case. So now we're going to have a look at an example of a function. So in the block code, we define, oops, I apologize. So in the block code, we define the hello bot function, which you can see right here. So we do define hello bot, parentheses, colon, and this function has a block of code underneath it. This one is just one line. It says print hello world. So a block of code you can see is indented underneath the function. Indentation is very important in Python. If you forget the indentation, it could make the program either run an error or do things in an order that you do not want them to do. So make sure that any block of code that belongs to a function is indented. And this part right here, this piece of code here is how we're calling the function. So Python is starting here and it's saying, okay, this is where I need to start. We're calling this function here, and then it's going here and it's going, okay, I need to print hello world. So if you left this off, the function just wouldn't do anything. So very important that we call our functions. So let's go ahead and we're just going to run this piece of code. And you can see that it worked correctly. We called our function, and then our function executed a task, which was to print a string hello world. Is everyone doing okay so far? Perfect. Okay, so in our introduction to functions session, we wrote this code example here. So we defined a function called main, and within the main function, we wrote the print statement, hello world, and as you can see, it's indented. And so I don't want anyone to get too concerned about what this code is here, but essentially we're doing the same thing that we did here in a way where we're calling the function. But in this case, this code here is telling Python which function specifically it wants to start with. So it's saying start by calling this function here. So start here. And so as we start to get more functions here, especially if functions are above the main function, Python needs to know, okay, I need to start this main function, otherwise it'll start at, somewhere else, or you could get an error if this code is incorrect. So let's move to, let's see if there's any, okay, we're good. So decomposition. Have you ever watched a coding tutorial on YouTube where the instructor writes like pages and pages of code, and it just seems like everything is just kind of there's comments in between, but it gets kind of a little bit, maybe confusing. For very short programs that we have been writing for the study group, we haven't really needed to break our code down into smaller functions. But as we start to get into, more elaborate code, we're starting to get into more things happening. We want to start breaking up our code into smaller functions that execute very specific tasks. So each function should execute that very specific task. So some examples of those would be to add or multiply a set of numbers as one example. As another example, if you have a game where you need to evaluate the health meter for a virtual cat and to know when it's hungry, when it's sleepy, so the user knows when to take care of that cat, you'll have very specific tasks there as well. So essentially, a function should do one conceptual action and also be a reusable piece of code, which we're going to see as we move on. So is everyone doing okay so far? If not, no worries. Things will start to make sense as we work through some of the coding examples, so not to worry at all. So we're going to start off by talking about a concept called parameters. And parameters are essentially, basically, they're just passing information. They're passing data to a function, and which is important. So if you're trying to do math, you want to send some numbers over to another function so a calculation could be completed, that sort of thing. You're passing that information, but you're using parameters as your vehicle to do that. So we recently used parameters. We used it last session. If anyone was here, let me know in the chat you were here and you remember this, but we use the range function, and we use 3 parameters. We used a starting parameter. We used the end and an increment argument here, and this executed in the code. It told the code what we needed to do. And I see a lot of people were here last time. Perfect. Awesome. So let's get into this. So earlier, we defined a function and we called it hello bot. And within that, we wrote a block of code that just printed hello world, and then we called the function. But I want to rewrite this. So we're using a parameter, and we're going to call that parameter message. And we're going to use that parameter to communicate. So the message parameter will allow our function to receive the value that lives within message. So let me break this down a little bit. So here we're defining our function like usual, and then we have hello bot, and then we have our parentheses. We put the word message. This is our parameter. And then we have end parentheses, colon, and then we want to print message. So down here, let's skip down here for a moment. We are calling the function, and we're giving that function an argument, and we're saying we want hello world to go from here and live here. So basically when we enter the hello bot, sorry, every time I click it moves. So when we enter hello bot, hello world, this calls the hello bot function and passes the argument hello world through the message parameter, then prints hello world. So this text here moves into here, and then we'll print out. So let's hit the run button. So when the hello bot function is called, it passes the hello world argument to the function. In this example, the argument hello world is stored within the message parameter, and prints out to the user. Now, how are we doing with that? I know maybe it's a little confusing. Hold on just one quick moment. So how's everyone doing? Let me know if this is making sense so far. If it's not making sense, then we are going to work through a few more examples, and I hope that you are able to get some clarity as we do that. Because this is a very complicated topic, so don't feel bad if it takes a little while to fully understand it. So I think a lot of us, when we were first learning this concept, it took a little while to fully grasp this concept. So no worries at all. So let's practice some examples. So in this first example, we are going to define a function called hello bot. And this time we are going to print a username. So this one's pretty similar to last time. We're going to use a parameter called name to pass the data. So and then we're going to call the function with our names as the argument. So here we're calling the function. We have Stephanie as the parameter, Stephanie as a string as the parameter. It's going to go up here where name is. So this information will go here. And then we're going to print hello plus name plus question mark. And when we run that, we can see that it prints hello Stephanie. And then here's another example. I purposefully left off right here this because we've already executed this code, that if we wanted to pass a brand new argument through this, we can see that it still works. So let's practice an example on our own. So we are going to define our function, and then we're going to do hello bot, and then we'll do name, and then we'll do print hello plus name plus question mark. And then what's the last step I need to do? Can anyone let me know in the chat? Does anyone remember? Call the function. Yeah, great job, everyone. Great job. So we need to call the function. So do hello bot. And who would like their name mentioned? I can add someone's name here. Who would like to have me say hello? Whoever's first. Eliza. All right. So see what happens, and it prints out hello Eliza. Hello. Perfect. So how did everyone do with that exercise? Did everyone get the desired result? Give me a B or a thumbs up. Perfect, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Fantastic. So now we're going to do the same basic idea, but we're just programming it a little bit differently. So it's going to do the same thing. It's just, we're just writing our code in a different way. And in this example, we're actually going to use our main function. So you can see we have this down here already for us. And then we're going to start by defining the function main. And then as in our code block, we are going to put this say hello, Stephanie. So we're putting that here instead. And basically, as our function starts to work through, so it's saying, okay, Python, I need to start with the main function, and then it's going to go here. Okay, I need to now go to the say hello function, and I need to bring Stephanie with me. So it's going to then go here where we've defined a function called say hello, and the name will have the value of Stephanie. And then we're going to print hello. This will have the value of Stephanie. And let's go ahead and run that. And you can see that it prints out just the same. So we're going to practice writing this. So we'll do DEF main parentheses colon, and then hit enter. And as a reminder, just make sure that when you hit enter, mine automatically indents for me. Yours should too, but just make sure that you have that indent and then say hello. Then we'll do parentheses. Whose name should I put here? She was fast. All right, so we put a name in here. And then we want to make sure that when we go down to define this function here, that it is in line with the other function. We don't want it to be indented. So we'll do DEF, say hello, and then we're going to do name. Enter. And now we do want this to be indented, and we're going to print hello plus name. Exclamation point, and let's run it and see if it works. And it works. Yay. So I do see a question in the chat. Please be sure to post your questions in the Q&A, and Karen and Shermaine will be happy to answer your questions throughout the session. How'd everyone do? Give me a B or a thumbs up. Perfect, perfect. All right. We will continue. So we're going to do a slightly different example. So somewhat similar to what we just did, but in this one, we're going to create within our main function, we're going to start by assigning a variable called name, and we're going to set that equal to the input function to allow the user to enter her name. And then we're going to move to say hello name. And so we're going to move to that function. So you can see in this case, before we were putting, Stephanie or another name in here, but now we're going to instead just use name. So what's going to happen is we'll do the input function, the name will be inputted, and then that name that will go here. And then because this function is being called, Python will now go to our function, say hello, it'll bring that name with it, and it will print that name. So let's run it. Who would like me to include their name or their pet's name or anything? Anyone have a name? Who is Buttercup? Oh, our puppy. Oh, okay, so we have a cute puppy. All dogs to me are puppies, by the way, called Buttercup. So let's enter a name, and it says, hello, Buttercup. Oh, so cute. I love pets. All right, so how would everyone do with that? Does that make sense? How we're allowing the user to input a name, we're storing that inside a variable. We are then taking that value here and then running it through. Okay. Good so far. Oh, I put a practice here so we could practice this ourselves. So let's do define main function, and then we'll do name equals input, enter a name, And then on the next line, we'll do our say hello, name. And then when we hit enter a couple of times, we want to make sure we go back so we are in line with the DEF main. We'll do DEF, say hello, and we'll do name. And then we're going to copy and paste this print statement. Just make sure that it is in the correct alignment. You can also write it out. Does anyone else have a pet you would like me to say hi to? Let's run this. Oh. Okay. Hey, Mochi. It's so cute. All right. So how did we do with that? Is everyone ready to move forward? Perfect. You're all doing fantastic today. All right, multiple parameters and arguments. So here we are going to define a function that accepts two parameters, and it's going to add two integers and print the result. So here we have our main function, and in it we have a variable called number1. We have another variable called number2. We've set those equal to integers. Then we established a function called addition. And we also put two parameters here. So we put number1, and then we put a comma, and then we put number2. And we then move to that addition function, as you can see. And we've taken those inputs with us. So this is essentially addition, 55 and 10. And then we're going to print number1 plus number2. And so we're printing essentially 55 plus 10. So let's run that. And you can see that it does add up to 65. So let's practice this together. We'll do our DEF main. Oops, sorry. And then we'll do num1 equals 23, num2 equals 10. And then we'll do addition, parentheses, num1, comma, num2. And then we're going to create this other function, def addition, parentheses. We're going to bring our parameters in, colon, and then we'll print num1 plus num2. Okay, and we run it, and it adds up to 33. How'd everyone do with that one? Perfect. Is everyone fairly comfortable with parameters? We are going to practice more parameters. So let me know, give me a B if you feel like you're ready to move on. And we are going to move forward to return statements. All right. Excellent job, everyone, so far. And again, as I said, if this is confusing or challenging, no worries. I think this is confusing and challenging for everyone when they first learn it, but we are learning together here today, and I hope we're enjoying our time together. So return statements are going to, basically we're going to take data and then return a value for this, and return a value or set of values back to the function. So return values take data and return a value or set of values back to the function. The value is known as a return value, and we write a return statement using the return keyword. So in this first example, we define a function called collect_username. And we're going to create a variable called username to request the user's name, and then we'll return the value within the username variable. So let's work through this one. So we define our function, collect username, parentheses, colon. You can see there's no parameters in this example. We're just learning returns right now. So then we're creating a variable called username, and we're setting that to an input function. We'll get a value. That value will be stored inside username, and then there's a return statement that will return the value inside username back. So right now we're going to call the function. And so when we call the function, it's just going to work through these two steps. So it's going to allow the user to enter a name, and then it's just going to return that. So let's hit run. Who has a name that they would love for me to mention? Pets names or your name? Okay. So we have a name. And you can see here what it did is it returned that value that lives within username. So we're gonna see later that this will return it back to another function, but for now we can see that it's printed out. So let's practice writing this. So we'll do def collect username, parentheses, colon, we do username equal, and then we do input, enter your name, and then we're just going to write the keyword return and then username, and then we need to call our function. So we'll do collect username parentheses. So let's try running that. Enter a name. We'll enter the name Karen, and you can see that it returns Karen for us. Perfect. Does that make sense so far? Now we'll move to the next example. Perfect. All right. In this next example, we are going to define a function called add two numbers. And then we're going to write a return statement that returns the added value of those two numbers back to the main function or wherever function that it's being called. So here we define our function. We have add two numbers. We have our parentheses. We have our colon, and then we do we have two variables with integers assigned to them. And so we have number one with an integer value. We have number two with an integer value. And then we just write return number one plus number two. And then here we call our function. And you can see that it returns that addition for us. So let's practice writing this one. So we'll do def add two numbers, and then we'll do num1 equals 122, and then we'll do num2 equals 180, and then we're going to write return. You can see it turns in purple for us. Python knows what it needs to do. And then we'll do num1 plus num2. And then what do we need? What step do we need to do next? Who knows? Call the function. Perfect. So then we do add two numbers. All right, let's run it. And we can see that it works. So how'd everyone do with that? Is everyone good? Perfect. I think returns maybe are a little easier too than parameters. So parameters, I think, take a while, but well, we're going to be practicing some examples of parameters and returns together in just a moment. So that should be fun. So we have, in this next example, we're going to assign a variable called name, and then we're going to set that equal to a function. So you can see input underscore name is not the input function. It's an input, it's a function that I defined myself. And you can see that here. And so what we're going to do is the code will start here with our main function, and then it's going to do name equals, and then it's going to go to this function to figure out what value should be assigned to our variable name. So we're now going to go here, and we can see that we have written return and then input, and this is the actual input function, enter your name. And so when the user inputs her name, that value will be returned back to name, and then we'll print here. So let's run that. We'll enter Charlie, and it says, hello, Charlie. So let's practice writing this one together. So we'll do DEF, and please let me know in the chat if you would like a name mentioned when we get to that point. So we have DEF main, we do name, we're creating a variable, and we're then creating a function that we're calling input name. Then we're printing hello plus name plus exclamation point. And then we're going to make sure we're in line with the DEF main. We're going to write DEF input name. And then we'll write return input enter. Okay, so in this one, we don't need to call a function because we've added this code already here. So it will start with the main function and work through. And somebody put a name into the chat so we can see that it prints out hello, Rupert. Perfect. How is everyone doing? Are we ready to explore using parameter and return together? Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Everyone's doing an excellent, excellent job today. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So we've learned about parameter, we learned about return statements. So parameters allow functions to take in data, and functions can also return the data back out, as we've learned. So parameters and return statements are often used together depending on the purpose of our code, purpose of our functions. So I thought it was important to cover a few examples here of how they can be used together. So in this first example, we have a function called add two numbers, and we're going to write a return statement that returns the added value of those two numbers. So in this example, we're actually going to start here, where we have a variable called number one, which is set to a value, another number set to a value. And then here we're calling our function. And so the function is add two numbers, and we've put in two parameters, so number 1 and number 2. So this value is going here, this value is going right here. And then once we call that function, the code goes here. So we have add two numbers, and then that value for number 1 is here, that value for number 2 is here. And so number 1, number 2, we have 112 and 180. And we can see that we're adding them. So we just wrote return number 1 plus number 2. And it comes out to the correct result. So we are going to practice writing this one. The DEF, add two numbers. We'll just do num1 and num2. And then we're going to write our block of code will be return num1 plus num2. Okay, now let's make sure that we are in line with the DEF. And we'll write num1 and we'll set it equal to a value. And we'll do num2 and we'll set that equal to a value as well. And then we're going to call the function. Okay. And we can see that the code worked out the way we wanted. So how's everyone doing with that one? Is everyone ready to proceed? Wonderful. So this next example, we're doing something very similar. So we're creating a variable. This one I've set equal to the value of 2. And then I have a print statement that is going to, that has the number multiply 3 function within it, as well as the parameter. So this 2 will go into this function, number multiply 3. So we're going to go up here where we've defined our function. We have number multiply 3. The number 2 will be here. And then we're going to return 2 times 3, which equals 6. So for this one, I'm going to shorten this a little bit and just do MULT. So DEF number underscore MULT. And then we'll do our number. For parameter, we'll do colon. And then we're just going to return the number times 3. Make sure we're in line with our DEF. We'll do number equals 7. And then we'll print. And then we're going to put our function here. So it's number T3 parentheses. Put number. Okay, so this should work. And it does. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so we are going to move now. If everyone's good, just give me a thumbs up if we feel like we're pretty confident using our parameters and return together. We are going to move on to some. We have 2 larger coding examples that we have some time for. All right. So who's ready for this? Everyone? Everyone's ready? Awesome. All right. Whew. All right, so the following example is going to wrap up several concepts that we've learned both today and over previous sessions: defining functions, variables, if else statements, logical conditions, and return statements. So in this one, we're develop a program that takes a virtual cat's current health status, so healthy, hungry, sleepy, etc., and returns a recommended kitty care action to the user. So here we have our main function, and I've created a variable. I'm sorry, every time I click, it likes to click off. I've created a variable called kitty current status, and I've set it equal to the string hungry. I do want everyone just to keep in mind that there probably would actually maybe be like a function here where it's sending it somewhere else and it's evaluating what, how hungry the cat is and how sleepy the cat is, and doing some type of metric in order to then return that value. But I decided to simplify it for the sake of time. So I just put the string value here, but imagine with me that there's a lot more things happening in this program. So anyway, here we're going to start with the kitty current status is hungry. And then we're going to create a variable. We're going to create a function called kitty health action. And we're going to put this, the kitty current status, as a parameter. So this hungry here will end up going with us. And so now we've defined a function called kitty health action. And in parentheses, I put kitty cat. So I did this on purpose. So here we have kitty current status is hungry. We have hungry going with us. And so I think we would assume that this would say kitty current status, but it does not. Does anyone know why I did that, or why I can do that? Let me know in the chat. No, okay, that's fine, no problem. So basically with Python, you're sending this parameter and you're sending it here. But for Python doesn't care that these two parameters match. They can have two completely different values. You could put a 0 here and a word here. Like it's going to communicate with whatever word you have here. It's going to communicate back and forth. So I did that one on purpose and whatnot. So you can create your parameters so they match function to function, which I've done so far, just so everyone sees conceptually, like, okay, name is communicating to name, it's taking the value with it. But in this case, hungry goes here and hungry is here. So hungry is with us with kitty cat. So if kitty cat, we have the double equal sign because we're doing a logical condition. If kitty cat equals hungry, which here it is hungry, then we're going to return. Before, when we did this previously, a couple of sessions ago, we didn't have the return. So I've added in the return, we just printed it before. So now we're going to return this print statement back. And if the cat was sleepy instead, we would return this print statement back. Otherwise, we would return this one back. When I say return, it's going to go back here. So basically, let's run this. So you can see your cat is hungry, please feed her. So I know that's kind of a bigger example than we've been using, but the same concepts are there. So we're passing a parameter here. We're then evaluating that value. In this case, we did if else statements, and then we're returning one of those values back to print. So does that make sense to everyone? Leave a beat or a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. I think many of you are understanding. And again, I know it's a little complicated when you hear it the first time. I definitely recommend, if this is confusing, don't worry about it. Spend some time after. You can rewatch this video. You can spend time looking at the code. You can, with your own code, if it's easier for you, just take this kitty current status and just paste it here, here, and here, and have a look at it that way, and that should help. So let's try writing this ourselves. So we'll do def main, and then we'll do kitty. We'll just do kitty status. And then the cat will be sleepy this time. And then let's do just kitty health. And it's a function, so we can do kitty status. Okay, so now we got to create our kitty health function. And we'll just put kitty status in here, so we can see that we're just taking the kitty status, which is sleepy. We're then calling this function kitty health, and we're taking sleepy with it. And then we're going here to kitty health, where kitty status of sleepy is here. And then I'm going to be a little bit lazy, or for the sake of time, and just copy and paste. But keeping in mind that we need to change kitty cat to kitty status, since we changed this parameter here. So we should be able to run it, and it works. Your cat is sleepy. Please give her a comfortable bed. Okay. Awesome. So now we have our final example. And so the following example is going to wrap up several of the concepts we've learned today and through previous sessions. So defining functions, parameters, return statements, variables, input functions, and if else statements. So in this one, we're going to develop a program that collects up to 3 additional pizza toppings. So basically, imagine this is just like part of like an ordering app where the person has already selected what pizza they want. They've selected what crust they want already. And now they're at a point during the app where they're asking for toppings, but I've kind of just truncated this whole idea. So bear with me a little bit, but we're going to start off with defining our main function. And, we have that here. And so within our main function, we're going to start just by simply printing to the user, you can add up to 3 additional toppings to your pizza. Then, because they're allowed 3, I created 3 separate variables for each of the 3 toppings. So we have pizza topping 1, pizza topping 2, pizza topping 3, but they're all set to the same function. And you can see what happened when I highlight that here's the function right here. So all 3 of the toppings, I'm not writing this code and copying and pasting it for all 3. Instead, I'm using one function that each of the variables will run through, and the user will have an opportunity to enter a topping each time that code runs through this process. So let's imagine now we're going to do pizza topping 1, and then we'll follow with pizza topping 2 and 3. So our variable is saying, okay, you need to go to the select pizza topping. So Python then moves here. So select pizza topping, and then we have pizza topping equals, and as you can see, it's just pizza topping. You don't need the 1 or the 2 or the 3 because it's just a general pizza topping that works for any number of toppings that we run through the code. So then we're going to set that variable equal to an input. We're going to say choose an extra topping, and I put a few examples in here. And then I created if else statement here. And so the first one is if the pizza topping is artichokes, you'll print artichokes have been added to your order, and the same for all of the different toppings. And if they do not select a topping that's in the list, no problem. It'll just print your topping choice is not on the menu. Now, keep in mind, I kept it this way for simplicity. You would probably, if you are really doing an ordering app, want to give the user a way to go back and use your loops in order to allow them an opportunity to go back and enter a legit topping. But I'm trying to keep this somewhat simple so we can focus on more of our parameters in a return. So once that pizza topping works through, they've selected one of these available toppings. We are then going to return the chosen pizza topping, whether that's artichokes or broccoli. We're going to return that back. So this value here, whatever is here. So if say it's artichokes, that's going to come back up here, and pizza topping 1 will now equal artichokes. And then we'll do the exact same process for 2 and 3. So the next time it goes through, if they choose olives, pizza topping 2 will be equal to olives. If they go back through it again and pick spinach, topping 3 will be spinach. So that covers this part here where we're executing in this block of code here. So once that process is done, now we have a separate function that we're calling, and that's print pizza order. So we're assuming at this point they've completed making their entire custom pizza. And so we just want to print the order out to the user. So you can see that the print pizza order function includes 3 parameters. So I'm taking pizza topping 1, I'm taking pizza topping 2, and pizza topping 3. I'm taking these with me. So I think we did artichokes, olives, and spinach, if I remember correctly. It was something along those lines. So we have artichokes, olives, and spinach. So they're going to come with me, and we're going to go to this function here. And we have our print pizza order. And then we have our topping 1, our topping 2, and our topping 3. Again, I just kept the names the same. And so we've now taken those with us. I'm just printing out just a line break just to make it a little easier visually. And then I'm saying your order is ready. Product, they ordered 1 large pizza. They've already chosen the crust. Again, already assumed that that was a separate function. They've already had a chance to do that. And so they chose whole grain. And then we're going to print our toppings. So we just print the word toppings. And then I added pizza topping 1, pizza topping 2, pizza topping 3. So I keep forgetting what we put. I think we put artichokes, olives, and spinach. So it'll print toppings, artichokes, olives, and spinach. I don't know if that type of pizza is good, but if you've ever had it, please let me know. All right, so let's run the code. And so like we can see, it prints out, you can add up to 3 additional toppings to your pizza. So choose an extra topping. So we'll just keep it as I mentioned, we'll do artichokes. Okay, artichokes have been added to our order. So that's what we learned up in our if else statement, that if they chose artichokes, it would tell the user that it's been added. And then we'll do olives. So olives have been added to the order. Great. And then I'll do spinach. And as you can see, what happened is it then went to this part here. So it prints out your order is ready, product 1 large pizza, your crust is whole grain, and your toppings are artichokes, olives, and spinach. So although this is a lot to type, we're gonna copy and paste some of this to make our lives easier. So because we only have so much time left. So I'm going to move this up so visually I can see the top of the code. And I hope it's okay with everyone. I know some of you might be on small screens, but I'm also reducing the font size on my screen right now. Please let me know if that's okay. I really apologize, but that's just so I can see more of the text. And I apologize for anyone who needs this larger. So we'll do DEF, main, and colon. And then we'll do print. And this one we'll copy and paste our print statement. We have had a lot of practice with print statements over the past few sessions. And then let's just do topping 1. And then we'll do topping 2 and topping 3. And then we're going to do select topping. So I'm shortening it from here. If you prefer to use what I have already, you can do that as well. So we're just going to select our topping. Okay. Now we'll do print order. And that's a functions. And then we'll put topping 1, separated by commas, topping 2, topping 3. So we have this first part. Done, our main function. We know what we want to do. We want to print a statement. We want to collect 3 toppings, and then we want to print the order out. Now, just an FYI that if you were really writing this, you might put the toppings into, another function. Depends how you decide to write it. You might not necessarily keep everything on your main. It just depends on your coding style and how you want to execute that. So for our next part, we're going to define the select topping function. And we don't need any parameters for this. And then for the sake of time, we are going to be a little bit lazy, and we are going to take everything except for the return with us. All right. And now we are going to practice our return. So we're going to make sure our return is in line with our if and elif and else. So we'll write return. So that whole part is done. So now I'm going to take my practice module here. And I'm going to click the down arrow and move it back so we can see the rest of our code. Okay. So now the next step that we need to do is our print order function. So we do def print order. And as we learned up here, we want to be able to take our toppings with us so that they print out. So we'll do def print order topping 1, comma, topping 2, comma, topping 3, colon. And again, we can just take some of this. We can just copy and paste some of this for time. And then we just want to write our final print statement. So that's print. And then we'll do toppings, colon, plus topping 1. Add commas in, topping 2. I think I did that correctly. Let's double check. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I think I did everything correctly. We will find out in a moment when we run our code. So let's run it. All right, so far so good. What is the first topping we would like to put on our pizza? Whoever's first in the chat. Olives, okay. Or what is the second we would like to include on our pizza? Anyone? Spinach, okay. And for our third, someone said broccoli. Okay. So it looks like everything printed out correctly. And so we entered olives. It said olives have been added, spinach has been added, broccoli has been added. Your order is ready. One large pizza across this whole grain, and the toppings are olives, spinach, and broccoli. So how's everyone doing? Did everyone get the desired result? Do you need to see the code again? Everyone's good? I literally made everyone hungry. So everyone go out and get pizza, the toppings of your choice. I'd say pizza's on me, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that. Perfect. Awesome. So is everyone good? Is there anyone who still needs to see the code or anything like that? Is there anyone who's stuck? Yay, pizza. So everyone needs to make pizza this weekend and post your pictures on Slack. All the pizza pictures. Just kidding, just kidding. Perfect. So if anyone decides at any point that they want to take this basic program and start to kind of flesh it out, maybe you add a function for the crust, maybe for what the different parts of the order. If you feel like doing that, then that's cool. Feel free to go ahead, make some updates to this code, whatever your personal coding style is, and share that with us on Slack, and we'd be happy to see it. So anyway, we have just a few more minutes in the session. So I saved the best for last. And that is congratulations. So I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone who has stuck with me for the past 5 sessions. And big congratulations for completing the Beginner Python Study Group 2021 content series. You are all so amazing. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you who has stuck through this process. And I've had a lot of fun. I know I'm going to miss this afterwards. I'm going to miss all of you so much. So you are amazing. And it has been such a pleasure to do this study group with you the past couple months. And for anyone who may have missed any earlier sessions, no problem at all. So if you weren't here for this whole time with us, no problem. Our sessions are posted to the Women Who Code YouTube channel, and you can code along with us either in Google Colab or your favorite IDE code editor at your own pace, and that's perfectly okay. And please know that we will be available on the Beginner Python Study Group Slack channel as you work through the material. I'm going to be around for a while. I know a lot of others are going to be around for a while. Today at this session, is Shermaine and Karen and Arsha, and there have been several others who have helped along this journey. We've had Sumya and Shubi and whatnot, and we're all here for you. So if you have questions after this, no problem. We're not going anywhere. You can reach out at any time. We'll be happy to help you. So don't worry. So some of the last week's session and this week's session will be posted to YouTube within I would probably say the next week or so. So please join us on our Slack channel. You'll be notified when those videos are posted. I also like to post up the Google Colab link with that as well. And you can go ahead and get caught up. And so I also just want to mention that up next, be sure to join us this coming Sunday for our final collaborative coding session. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't attended them yet, you're going to love it. We're going to do a very important topic in programming. It has to do with reading and writing text files. And so this is something that a lot of you will need in your coding journey. So please be sure to attend that session. And Arsha has posted the link again in the chat. So please also be sure to join our Leak Code next week, our Leak Code study group next week. I'm really looking forward to that. And also our Python libraries with our covering data visualization and computer vision and a lot of really exciting topics that is going to start next week as well. So please register if you haven't registered. The events link has been posted in the chat. And I just want to say again, once again, excellent work today. And everyone keep practicing. Code as often as you can. You really can't get enough practice. And it has really just been an honor to work through this journey with you all. And so I just got to go back to this congratulations message and a big round of applause. Please, everyone, give yourselves a big round of applause for an amazing, amazing work. And big thanks to everyone who has helped me along this journey. So I've had, I've had Karen, Shermaine, and Shubi, Arsha, Pujita. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Sumya have all helped me. So please give a big round of applause for everyone who has helped me as well. And again, please join us this Sunday. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes. If anyone wants to stick around for a few minutes, that's totally cool. And we can chat and answer any remaining questions that you have. Some of the team might need to drop off for work or whatever they have next, and that's perfectly fine. So anyway, thank you all so much. Congratulations. Big round of applause, amazing work. And I hope to be seeing you all very, very soon at our next event. Thank you so much.